Welcome to News Laundry Chota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. News Laundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta from Delhi, which is going off the charts as far as COVID numbers are concerned. We are recording this Hafta on the 8th of April, Thursday at 3 p.m. We've had a couple cases at News Laundry as well. So if we are a little less productive over the next week or two, you know why. We are taking all the precautions that are required, but life must go on, and which our wonderful colleagues and reporters are doing, so kudos to them. Joining us on today's Hafta are two guests from outside Delhi and my wonderful colleague from Delhi, Raman Kripal. Hi, Raman.
Hi.
Joining us from Chennai is our very own colleague and Desky editor, Jayashree. Hi, Jayashree.
Hi.
And also joining us from Chennai is Kavita Muralidharan. Hi, Kavita.
Hi.
Before Jayashree gives us the headlines of the week, I'll just give a brief introduction to Kavita. She is based in Chennai. She's an independent journalist. She has been the editor of India Today Tamil. And before that, she headed the reporting section of The Hindu Tamil. She's also a Pari volunteer and has 18 years of experience covering Tamil Nadu election. So, Kavita, you've always been based out of Chennai, or have you ever served in this part of the world as well?
Also, it's 22 years.
Oh,
I
22.
started working in 98, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Always been in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, yes.
I see. So you were in India Today between 95 and 99?
I was in India Today from 2000 to 2004, and then I joined them as editor in 2014.
Oh, damn. Okay. We missed 1 year. Didn't work at the same organization at the same time. Anyway, I was there from 95 to 99. So I was just checking if we happened to be
Okay.
there at the same time. But welcome. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Hafta, and thank you for joining us. Before we get into the discussion, and we shall be leaning on you to give us an update and some analysis of what's happening in Tamil Nadu, Jayashree shall give us the headlines of what made the news this week and what was remarkable and what was unremarkable.
All right, many remarkable things this week. For one thing, voting took place in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Puducherry, Assam, and West Bengal. As during the course of the election, the Election Commission has issued a notice to Mamata Banerjee for urging Muslims to not vote for the BJP. A Bengal polling officer was also seen taking EVMs and VVPATs to a TMC leader's house. The EC has suspended some officials subsequently. In Tamil Nadu, the DMK's Udayanithi Stalin received an EC notice for making remarks against PM Narendra Modi. He made some alleged remarks on Sushma Swaraj and Arun Jaitley. In extremely scary news this week, India has recorded over 1.26 lakh COVID cases in the last 24 hours. This is the highest number of infections in a single day since the pandemic began.
And also, this
The
is the
centre has said it was
third day running of over a lakh cases. That's 3 days of lakh and above.
Yes, yeah. And despite this, the center said it will not open vaccinations up to a wider group anytime soon. Instead, it's blamed states for playing politics. Several states have said they're running out of vaccines. This includes Maharashtra, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, and others. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca has sent the Serum Institute of India a legal notice over delays in supplying vaccines, while the Bombay High Court has sought the centre's response in opening up door-to-door vaccinations for the elderly. In non-COVID news, Facebook says the data of 553 million users were leaked in 2019. The Ministry of Law and Justice has reportedly abolished the Film Certification Appellate Tribunal with immediate effect. So a lot of filmmakers and producers were tweeting and posting on social media about
Just
their
so that
disappointment.
the regular folk know the importance of this organization. It's because of this organization that films like Lipstick Under My Burqa and a couple of other Hansal Mehta films as well, they only got certification because they
Uttar
appealed
Punjab
here. Otherwise,
also.
their films would have been stuck forever. So yeah, now you can't do that. It's just that the Sarkari appointed censor board, as we call it, will decide whether the film gets released or not.
Right. So the Election Commission has issued a notice to BJP leader Himanta Biswa Sharma for his remarks about Hagrama Mohillari, who's the head of the Bodoland People's Front. In Bombay, that saga is continuing. Suspended Mumbai cop Sachin Vaze has accused Maharashtra ministers Anil Deshmukh and Anil Parab of extortion. Meanwhile, Anil Deshmukh has resigned after the High Court ordered a CBI probe into allegations of corruption. Dassault has paid 1 million euros as a gift to the Indian middleman in the Rafale deal. This is according to a French report published in Mediapart. In an unprecedented move, Chief Justice of India S.A. Bobde has called a Supreme Court collegium meeting, even after the president has appointed N.V. Ramana as his
This
successor.
is highly unusual because once a successor has been announced, the outgoing Chief Justice doesn't preside over any full collegium meet. But
Yeah, I think he was asked if he would postpone it, and he said
The
no.
two of the
So
judges
I think
have
it's going ahead
protested.
today.
They have said that no, this should not happen.
Yeah.
two of
Two of the
Supreme Court
serving Supreme Court judges.
right.
And the issue
Yeah.
is very pertinent. This is about the gay judge. You know that, na?
Oh, it's about the gay judge, right?
I say Saurabh Kirpal is a lawyer in Delhi High Court. So the Chief Justice of Delhi High Court has recommended him as the judge for the High Court,
Right.
and Center has protested
That you
against
can't
it.
have a gay judge.
No, not in as many words.
But
They said ki no, this guy has a Swiss partner who is serving in the Swiss
Judiciary.
embassy.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
so it's a
So,
national security.
national
threat.
security or something. So but actually the issue is gay.
Oh, I see.
Huh.
Okay, right. And finally, yes, IPL related news as well.
Oh, yeah. After all that sad news from Bombay, the IPL will still go ahead in Mumbai. A cabinet minister has confirmed 10 matches will be played in the first leg. And that's
of course,
the
the
news.
tropical cyclone has killed 113 people in Indonesia and East Timor. This continues. In fact, there are floods in Malaysia. There's been this in Indonesia. So natural disasters are continuing the world over. It's just that they don't find the kind of space because of the pandemic, the ultimate disaster of all. But considering, I mean, if you were to watch and listen to the English media or the Hindi media, which is by and large based out of Delhi, it appears like a foregone conclusion that DMK is going to sweep. Is it that much of a foregone conclusion, or is it because no one's heard of anyone except Stalin? Like there is no real successor to, Jayalalitha. And of course, I mean, I don't know what Rajinikanth has just done a little Nach Gana and then gone back. I don't know what impact that has had on anyone.
Kamala Hassan is...
And is Kamal Hassan really a force to reckon with, or is he just what happened to that other film star, who has these red eyes? He always looked.
Vijaykanth.
Yes, he got 0 seat or something, right? After
Last time.
yeah. So,
Vijaykanth this time is not in alliance with the ADMK, which is a setback for him and in some places for the party also. Also, Vijaykanth is not well these days. He's really in bad shape. So he came out to campaign, but he didn't step out of his vehicle. He didn't make any speeches. He just waved at the people who had gathered there. So I don't think his party DMDK will have any impact this time. Kamala Hassan might have some impact in urban areas. He might take away some votes of the ADMK. That's possible. If the DMK comes to power, I think it's essentially because of two reasons. One, we've had 10 years of AIADMK in the government, in power. So people are obviously tired of the government. And two, Edappadi Palaniswamy, all said and done, he is a leader. He's trying to kind of position himself as the leader of the AIADMK, but it depends on an electoral result, electoral outcome on whether he'll be able to sustain his leadership run. But whereas for the Stalin, even assuming, even hypothetically saying that the DMK doesn't do well this election, he would still be the party's undisputed leader.
what is your take, Jayashree? Have you been stepping out of your house and checking out?
No, I'm taking my COVID protocol very seriously. Thank you.
But what do your friends say around you in Tamil Nadu?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with Kavita. The difference between the ADMK and the DMK is the DMK already has its elected chief. So Stalin has contested in elections before, and this is the position that he was born to take over, like apart from his brother and all, but he's been heading here for a very long time. For EPS, it is a very dodgy situation that he's in, and there have already been some run-ins that he's had with his deputy chief minister. So the future of the ADMK is way more uncertain than the future of the DMK. Now, with regards to your question about Kamal Hassan, I honestly feel like he is a bit of a non-entity. At the most, he may do some vote cutting, which wouldn't favor the ADMK. But I feel Delhi media's fascination with Kamal Hassan has given him more outsized coverage or importance than he would otherwise deserve. I mean, I feel like anything that's familiar to Delhi journalists would get more traction, right? Like it's how the BJP is played up way more in Kerala than it is otherwise. It's how Kamal Hassan is projected as this new film star who's making an entry into politics, because these are names and these are brands that people know. But I think the reality on the ground is pretty different.
But is it true that Anna DMK is going to lose more because they are supporting BJP?
Yeah, is the resentment, is the anti-Hindi resentment rubbing off on AIADMK?
Anti-BJP resentment, I guess so. It's like I personally think the AIADMK would have gained a few more seats if they had not had BJP along with them. If they not taken BJP along with them. Well, as far as I travel, I think the anti-Modi sentiment is actually real. Yeah, I mean, I used to think at one point of time it was a social media phenomenon, but it's not true. It's actually real. It's on the ground.
So in Tamil Nadu, there is an actual anti-Modi on the ground kind of resentment as well.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's very evident. Even in rural areas, you meet people who are angry with Modi for various reasons, for petrol price hike or for LPG price hike, on the state government for not doing enough during the COVID lockdown, when their livelihoods got hit.
And one more aspect, when I was, I was traveling in Tamil Nadu for a bunch of other TV shows I was shooting, and this Aragiri is his name, right? The brother?
Aragiri.
So I think what Madurai is his headquarters.
Yes.
So
yes,
like
Madurai is
Madurai, there's I don't think you can go past any crossing unless there is a 50-foot by 50-foot mugshot of him smiling down at you benignly. Right. So clearly he was huge in Madurai, but is it that he's not a familiar face in Delhi journalists, therefore the battle between him and his brother is not spoken about or talked up, or other than Madurai, he cannot make a difference to his brother's fortunes? And on the brother hostility spectrum, are they, where are they? One end being Ram Lakshman, one end being Mukesh and Anil. Where do these two brothers fall in this spectrum?
I think you were right when you said that he doesn't have major impact beyond Madurai. Also, when Karunanidhi was alive, he made very clear that Stalin is his successor and nobody else. In fact, there was a very famous press meet which Karunanidhi gave, I think in 2014 or maybe before, I'm not sure. But he said that Aragiri was trying to kill his brother Stalin. And it was in a press meet. And he launched a scathing attack on Aragiri. So when Karunanidhi was alive, he made sure who his successor was. So there is no room for doubts on that front at all. No room for that. So Tamil Nadu people, the DMK more knows that they need to be on Stalin's side.
And
also, when you talk about Kamala Hassan, I just wanted to add, I completely agree with Jayashree on how media is making Kamala Hassan, giving Kamala Hassan a larger than life image. But I think, his decision to enter politics, it's for me who's covered Tamil Nadu and its politics for 22 years, I think it was very surprising, because in Tamil Nadu, there are actors like MGR and Jayalalitha, even Karunanidhi comes from the film world, but they've put enough labor, before he even thought of becoming the chief minister, MGR had worked as a grassroots level party cadre with the DMK, and he grew from strength to strength. Kamala Hassan decides to come into politics one day when there is no Jayalalitha or Karunanidhi and thinks he can make a difference in the politics. I think it doesn't suit Tamil Nadu's landscape.
Yes, so this is exactly what I think, because also when he announced his intention to form a party, at that time, isn't that when you usually go on the ground and you're supposed to be drawing up your own party ideology? Right. No one actually knew what the MNM stood for, because I don't think Kamal Hassan even had a clue. His decision was to enter politics and that was it.
Yeah.
And then similarly with Rajinikanth, whom we've discussed on Hafta and so many times before, until he finally said he's not entering. But it is the same thing. It was just he announced he was going to do it. But that isn't how you become a politician. You don't just say one day, I am contesting, vote for me. You need to know what the man is about. So I think Kamal Hassan kind of thought he'd have it much easier, but I'm glad to see that he hasn't.
Raman sir, you were saying something?
No, I may sound naive, but is farmer movement have any impact on these elections?
Is the farmer movement a thing in Tamil Nadu? It's just a Punjab, Haryana phenomenon. Is it a factor at all in the election there?
See, there are farmer movements, especially the left movements in Tamil Nadu, which have been, raising their voice against the new farm laws. But I think there are other farmer issues limited to Tamil Nadu. Like there is this 8-lane road coming up near Salem, which is taking away the lungs of farmers, and they have been protesting against it. and there are these hydrocarbon projects from in the delta where the farmers' lands are being threatened to be taken away. So these are very live issues, and the farmers are up against arms on these issues. So I think it's also this time, very interestingly, there is this actor called Rohini who works with CPM's Tamil Nadu Progressive Writers and Artists Association. She went and campaigned for a CPM candidate in a Delta constituency, where she specifically told the press persons that she was campaigning about the farm laws, creating awareness about the farm laws, because we have our chief minister giving interviews saying the farm laws will not be implemented in Tamil Nadu. So it has got some kind of traction.
Before we move on, can I please request you to pay to keep news free? You are listening to this Chota Hafta version. If you are a Mufat Khor and are not paying for news and think everything is for free in life, it's not. If you're not paying, the government is or some large corporation is, and therefore the news will serve those who pay. That is the basic rule of nature, like gravity. Jiska paisa uski bhais, which is a euphemism for lathi. So do pay to keep news free. Come to newslaundry.com, click on the subscribe button and become a part of the community that is keeping journalism alive.
I got the vaccination and I got the certificate also with Modi very prominently
in the photo.
Appearing in that.
Now, if it's federal, then that photo will have to change for one. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about that centralization thingy. So this government, I mean, whenever they want to apply the market principle, they simply apply the market principle. And in cases like this, wherever they want to, score brownie points, then and they want Modi face on everything. So you will see that even the exports that we are doing, they are also, the Modi is trying to diplomatically, is trying to make that India is going to
masterstroke, diplomatic masterstroke.
India is going to be the leader, in giving these vaccines. And here also is doing the same thing. First of all, I'll address this issue first. I think it should be absolutely left to the state governments. It should be open and let them also fix the. I think if the price is a little higher, people will go for it. Okay, so I think it should be the state government should handle this health emergency. This is one. Now Delhi situation is pretty bad, but bad in the sense, but it's not fatal. I mean, this time it's not that.
The deaths are not.
Deaths are not that much, but yes, it's spreading very fast. So I think how you are going to contain it, that's very important. And
this night curfew, this
night curfew is,
a shit idea.
Absolutely a shit idea. I mean, who is going to be out after
between 10 and 5? Just said, my 4 o'clock morning walk I can't do. Otherwise, I was doing it every now. See, because of this.
You used to go out.
No chance.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, who goes out between 10 and 5? Okay, I mean, whenever I mostly reach home at 10:30, 11 because meeting people, and then I go back.
In Kanpur, the curfew
but it's fine. I can make it 10. I can wind up everything by 9:30 and I can go home.
In Kanpur, the curfew is 9 and 6 because the Kanpur winds up a little early and wakes up a little later, clearly. So
no. I think this is a knee-jerk response to the problem. I think the main thing is containment. You need to identify, where all these things are happening, where the spread is happening, and then you need to contain it. So I think the same principle which was there earlier, but I think lockdown, this curfews, this is not a solution.
Option. So Jayashree, before you come in, just want to tell the audience that even the hill states that so far were insulated during the last bump, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, all these states, it was fairly clear of corona. There were not so many cases. And now it's, of course, the explosion is extended there as well. In fact, I just read in the paper today, my school, there have been 15 or 16 cases. It's a boarding school. So there's a lockdown and, they can't let the children go out and they can't let anyone come in. So, for the parents, it's worrying that because no one can come in or out. So it's extended to Uttarakhand, it's extended to HP. The cases have completely ballooned.
In Uttarakhand, they have advised, or maybe I think it's kind of a prohibitory issue, that people above 65 should not travel to should not visit.
So only the young
Uttarakhand.
people should go for the Kumbh. So all you old people stay home.
65.
Let the youngsters go and swim the Olympics at the Kumbh. But just
But also look at the numbers in Goa. I mean, we were talking about hill stations and all that. Goa numbers were like only 60, 70 cases, I think, a day at some point. Now they're at some 550, 530 cases a day. Also because tourists are still going to Goa.
Oh yeah, Goa was
Goans-
a major.
yeah.
You're right. In March, I know of many.
My sister got it.
Yeah.
My nephew had gone to Goa.
So yeah, I know so
so
many
they
friends
got-
who went to Goa in
got
March
it from
because
Goa.
all the kids were saying we have to go back to school. We haven't traveled anywhere. So all the parents said, "Chalo, tumhe Goa le chale." But just to give an idea of the numbers, the population of Tamil Nadu is approximately, I'd say, 7 crore right now, and the population of Delhi is about 2.2, 2.3 crore. If you take NCR, it may touch 2.5, 2.6 crore. Delhi daily cases are in the 5 to 6,000 range right now, and the daily cases in Tamil Nadu are in the 4,000 range. So, but that's also because the population of Tamil Nadu, 7 crore, is spread over an area about 10 times the size of Delhi. So, I mean, just that's the kind of... So, even the population of Delhi is about a third of Tamil Nadu. Our numbers are almost 1.5 times Tamil Nadu. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jayashree. So, what do you think of how it's being handled? Do you think Moderna and Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer should be allowed to sell here and let the rich buy them? I mean, I can tell you honestly, even if they were priced at 2,000 a pop, and I'm not just saying that whether it is a good or ethical practice. As a business practice, I would happily spend 50,000, 80,000 bucks and get everybody in office vaccinated and go about your job rather than, stepping on eggshells. Ab tum yahan mat karo, tum mat aao, machine ko tumhare ghar jao. Matlab kaam ka bhadd pit jata hai na. So I think if a tucha organization like ours can afford to spend that money, restaurants would spend it, big businesses would spend it.
Absolutely.
That's my view. Sorry, go ahead, Jayashree, your stage.
Okay, so Tamil Nadu, like Kavita said, has about 4,000-ish cases a day now. But then, I mean, I look at Bangalore, which is literally 6 hours away. And Bangalore, I think, has 4,000 or 5,000 new cases a day at this point, which is terrifying. So I think mask compliance is very low in Tamil Nadu. I think it has been since the beginning. It is still now. I've been forced to go to 2 states in the last few months, which is Kerala and Karnataka. In both, mask compliance was way better. Like if you see 20 people on the road in Tamil Nadu, chances are maybe 2. In Chennai, at least, I speak for Chennai, maybe 2 are wearing masks. Yes, so I think the government's decision to insist on bridging studies for all the other vaccines that have been tested everywhere in the world, like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Novavax, it should dispense with this. I mean, it would have been a huge boost in supply. We're already seeing states saying that they're running out, though the government's trying to respond by saying, no, we've given you so many. But that's not the point. If states are running out, then we need a boost in supply. They're saying Sputnik may come out next week, and I think they have 4 or 5 licensees in India. So if that happens, that would be an uptick in stocks available. I think the major issue with the government is there's so little transparency and everything is so centralized. I mean, how many vaccines do we have? We literally don't know because they removed it from their COVID dashboard. There shouldn't be a substantial shortage right now, but there is. Centralizing the app, like a person in Delhi telling us how somebody in Kanyakumari, whether he can get a vaccine or not, is ridiculous. But this is exactly what the government does, which they take credit when things go well, which is rarely. And when things go badly, now they're pointing fingers at the states. And also, I'd like to point out Niti Aayog's recent press conference, I think it was a few days ago, where it was blatant misinformation, flat out lying. I think they said that India has the lowest cases in the world. It said nowhere else in the world are vaccines given to people above 40 except in India. And these are lies. So just hand over this responsibility to the state. Like, I think Maharashtra had asked them to allow them to do door-to-door vaccinations for the elderly. Why would you say no? Why would you not let a state take that
That's ridiculous.
call?
Even Delhi had said that people who can't inform people who can't come.
Yeah,
Let us
so
go there.
And if the Bombay Metropolitan Corporation or whatever, Brihan Mumbai is willing to take on that responsibility, why would you not say yes? Why is Delhi saying no, you can't, because centrally we can't do it? I find it extremely distressing.
All of you listening in, the Chota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to News Laundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs, and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sun liya Afrika, Mufat Khoro. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.